today I am going to share with you a story that perfectly captures what we do here at Product-Led. So the other day, one of our Product-Led implementers, Monica Holland, shared this old marketing slogan that made me laugh out loud. And it was from the home repair service providers. So a lot of them would advertise or used to advertise, we repair what your husband fixed. And you know how this scenario works. Like your husband tries to fix the leaky faucet and just so happens to make it worse. And now you actually need to call the professionals to fix it up. Now, I found this super funny because that's totally me. I am the least handy person whatsoever. And so now I just default to reaching out to the professionals. But as soon as Monica shared this, it hit me. I mean, this is literally what we do at Product-Led. And every time we have founders reach out, almost always, it's like, hey, we launched this free trial. We thought it'd be doing much better by now. And we now realize we didn't know fully what we were doing. So we need some help. And so then it's like this big all hands on deck thing. We got to come in and help them figure out, okay, what is the root issue? Is it because you didn't give away the right free stuff? Do you have enough good people signing up? Are they qualified? Do you have people getting to value? So it's a complex problem, but that's where we actually love the complexity because we can just understand very quickly, oh, okay, this is actually the root issue. But here's the big thing, and this is important for you as a founder, is most of the founders, especially the ones we talk to, are not lazy. When it comes to launching a free trial, they're not trying to cut corners. They're smart, capable people. But the thing is, they're just missing the foundation of product-led growth. Many people come to us, they think, hey, look, I built this PLG motion. We have a 14-day free trial. But really, what you've only done is you just scratched the surface. You probably have just bolted on a product-led growth motion. And so the majority of our clients actually come to us after they've launched a PLG motion. And when I ask them, what they did, it usually sounds something like this. Well, like we added a sign up form to our websites, we made our pricing transparent, and we let people try the product for free. So assumption is, okay, we're doing everything right for product-led growth. So why the heck is it not working? But that's actually a start of product-led growth. Those are just a couple of things. But to actually dig deeper and get the right foundation, I always like to ask, some questions like, so what happens after someone signs up for your product? A lot of times I'll hear, well, they get access to the product and they can explore everything. But then it's like, well, how do they know what to do first? And a lot of times it's like, well, they have to figure it out. And maybe we have to hop on a call or walking them through how to actually get to value. And so it's like, oh, okay, super interesting. That's a ton of work for somebody. And that's actually not that realistic for them to get set up, is it? So a lot of times this is just because we have not mapped out what is the fastest path to value. And that's really what we have to do. If we want to get people to see value in a product, it has to be able to get them to value with ideally zero guidance. And in order to do that, we need to make sure there's the right tooltips, progress bars, there's a clear path to success. And we're not just doing the good luck figuring out approach. And when it comes to pricing, this is like one of the biggest areas where we realize there's usually a big disconnect as well. And so a lot of times in the process of especially going from sales led to product led, companies will realize that like, oh, okay, in order to get people to self-serve, we need to make the pricing transparent. And then if their sales team was trained to just sell as high as possible and downsell if they don't take the initial thing, then it's like, okay, then we have to go through with that approach. And so on that end, yes, you have to actually have a simple pricing approach that actually scales with value. So that means that it could be something where it's like, $50 per month, but it could scale up to thousands of dollars per month if you have the right value metrics. And so if you don't have any of those pieces, like the good pricing, getting people to value, an intentional free model, you're just doing surface level product-led growth. And you're doing all the visible stuff. You're creating that 14-day free trial, updating the homepage, promote the free offer, and you have this transparent pricing, but the foundation is missing. And so this is a lot like building a house by starting with just the roof. So the roof is important, but without the foundation, the walls, the frame, that roof is just going to collapse. So in my most recent book, the Product-Led Playbook, I call this the iceberg analogy. So what users see at the very top, product-led growth, is the free trial, the pricing page, the sign-up flow. But that's really just the tip of the iceberg. If you go underneath the water, there's this massive product-led organization that needs to be built. And you got to get the right team. You have to get the right data in place to understand, okay, what is bottlenecking our users from seeing value? You need to build the right growth process. So you're consistently launching experiments every single week to tackle that biggest bottleneck. And there's a lot more there too, but if you don't have that product-led organization, then it's really hard, if not impossible, to build the right environment for product-led growth to succeed. So let me actually just break down what's actually broken when most founders come to us. And so if this rings any bells for you, you can be like, okay, we definitely need to change our approach. So the first thing I notice a lot is there's usually a ton of strategy misalignment. So they actually never defined who is their ideal user. Now, a lot of sales-led companies are very specific about who their buyers are, but I'm talking about the user, the person who's actually going to use the product that you're creating, especially that free one. Because the ideal goal is you have somebody who's a user, signs up for the product, they love it, and either if they have the purchasing authority or if they don't, they can go to the buyer to get that, and they can make that purchasing decision. But you have to know who that ideal user is and understand them better than anyone else in your market. So that's a tall order. If you don't have that, that's definitely one of the first places I would start. The second thing that a lot of companies that come to us also struggle with is their free model is just giving away random stuff. So they think, okay, like either we have a 14-day free trial, for whatever reason, that's the most common one. Most people decide, okay, it's like your first version of a PLG motion, 14 days is just that magic number. But I always go back to like, what can somebody actually do in 14 days with your product? Is it you giving away all your features? Is it giving away some of them? But when I ask what is the outcome of what I could do in your free model, it's usually crickets. It's like, oh yeah, it's just more or less you can click around, you can see what you could do, but oh yeah, it takes a lot longer than 14 days to see value. And so I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to take a guess that most people aren't getting to success in your product. And they're like, yeah. And then the third thing is, do you actually have the right data to track what is happening? Now, a lot of sales-led companies know to the nth degree, like, okay, how many sales calls did we get booked? How many people showed up on those calls? How many people were qualified? And then how many people actually closed from proposal and everything else? And like, you know those percentage rates. But when it comes to how many people signed up that actually got to value, nobody knows a lot of times because they don't have the right product analytics in place. And even if they do know, usually they have to search long and hard for those numbers. And that shouldn't be the case. That should be a number that is just as important as how many people signed up for the product, because it's the ultimate leading indicator of, are people going to upgrade or not? If people aren't getting to value, good luck getting them to upgrade. They're probably just not going to come back to your product again. So that's like the third most important thing, is just having the right data and then making sure it's really accessible. So like, that's why I quiz founders on our game plan calls. I'm like, hey, do you know these numbers? Because if not, this is like one of the first things we would go through and help you with. The fourth thing, and this is huge, is there's usually not a whole lot of organizational buy-in. So the product team decides to launch a PLG motion, let's say, but the leadership team and everybody else in the company is just still focused on the sales-led growth. And this is common because, I mean, if you're especially making the transition from sales-led to product-led, you don't want to kill your golden goose. So you should actually still do that, but you want to get everybody's support around this. So marketing still needs actually support getting more signups, not just getting people to book demos. And sales should also have maybe your best sales rep. You can put them on some of those early accounts and really assist them in getting to value, getting to success in the product, and actually ultimately upgrading and creating your first kind of product-led sales motion. So that is some things, the first four, that we always go through and really identify that a lot of companies struggle with. Strategy misalignment, not having the right model, the data is just lacking and not tracking the right things. And fourth is just organizational buy-in. This shows up a lot for a ton of companies that we're potentially working with. And the problem here is most founders, you know what? They're like brilliant at building products. They can solve complex technical problems, manage huge engineering teams, raise funding. But product-led growth requires a completely different set of muscles. You need to understand user psychology. You need to design onboarding experiences that guide people to value quickly. And you really do need to align your entire organization around this self-serve motion. And you need pricing that actually makes sense for how people use your product. And here's what I've personally learned after working with over 400 plus SaaS companies. You just can't bolt product-led growth onto a sales-led business. You need the complete system. This does not mean the complete rehaul of your entire business, but you do need to think about how do we build a product-led organization that supports PLG? You can't just start from the top, hacking away at the iceberg, and then expect the bottom of it to just suddenly appear. And so that's why we built the product-led system. It's a blueprint that most founders are missing when it comes to successfully implementing PLG. And it covers everything from strategy to user research to pricing to team alignment, because product-led growth is not just about the product. It's about building an organization that can support product-led growth. And most founders come to us thinking that they need just some help with their onboarding or to tweak their pricing, but what they really need is to rebuild the foundation. So if you're listening to this and thinking, hey, maybe my free trial needs some professional attention, you're probably right. And here's what I can do for you. If your company is generating over 3 million in annual recurring revenue, we guarantee that we'll actually add 1 million in sales over the next 12 months through our product-led system. And that's not a maybe, that is a guarantee. We will not take you on if we can't actually fulfill on that guarantee. And for this month only, we're actually gonna squeeze in the deal, since I believe when it comes to July in the summer, it's separation season. There's some people that are just taking vacations, and then there's other people that are actually using this time where the opportunity cost to make some of these big changes is a lot less, are going all in on product-led growth. And because of that, if you sign up for the implementation program before the end of July, we're actually gonna give you 5 free spots for your team to join the Product-Led MBA, so you can train up the rest of your team in how to actually approach product-led growth the right way and scale up a lot faster. So if you wanna learn more, head over to productled.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.